Hi, my name is Gord Lindsay, and I'm making a brief video because I think I have something to contribute to the discussion of how to prevent suicide. I've been affected, as many have, by celebrity suicides in the news, not so fairly recently, and then subsequent discussion and hearing so many people suffering from this suicide ideation and the way people are trying to cope with this as an illness. And I think there's a very important point which has been missed, and I'm going to try very briefly now to explain what apparently people don't seem to know about the mechanism of suicide. And if you have an understanding of what I'm going to be saying, and you try hard to apply it and work at applying it, I think you can avoid suicide. And so it's titled How to Avoid Suicide. I apologize, it's a very rough and ready video. It's just being done on my phone, but I think it's, rather than take a lot of time preparing, I thought I'd just say it. First of all, I'm not talking about people who have very intractable pain and terrible illnesses which are keeping them from make every living minute a painful hell for them. I'm not talking about those kinds of people. I'm talking about people who are in basically good health, but who get this ideation that they should kill themselves. And that's what I'm talking about. People who could live long lives from this point on, who are actually thinking of ending it, like the celebrities recently in the news who fell prey to this terrible impulse. Okay, so how do you avoid suicide? You have to recognize what the suicidal impulse is. The best way to understand this is to use a biological model, and that is cancer. See, our bodies have a way of identifying invading organisms which threaten our being. We have an immune system. It's called an immune system. So when a bacterium that's going to harm us gets into our system, our immune system recognizes the threat and it mobilizes. And many times during the course of our lives, we have illnesses nipped in the bud, notwithstanding the illnesses that actually flourish, but we have illnesses that are nipped in the bud because our immune systems went into action and destroyed the invading organisms. And that is the key to understanding the suicidal impulse. In the body, there is a mechanism, biologically, for identifying self and non-self, actually distinguishing between what is self, your own mechanism, your own whole organism, and what is non-self, what is an invading organism, what is not part of you. And that's the secret of understanding the suicidal impulse. It's non-self. When you experience, God forbid, this notion that I can't go on anymore, that this life is too hard, too painful, too cruel, too impossible. I have to, and also I want to get revenge on those people that have harmed me. You have to understand that thought process is not you. It's your enemy. It's an invading organism which is not you, even though you identify strongly with it. How does cancer work? Cancer grows by invading your body or growing insidiously inside your body in a way that could kill you. How does it avoid being destroyed by your immune system? Because it tricks. It has various ways. It has evolved in certain ways that the cancer mechanisms that have survived over the millennia are those that have been similar to yourself. That is to say, when a tumor starts to grow and keeps growing without any interference, it's because it has a property of being or fooling your immune system that it is you, it is self, it is part of you. So when a God forbid a person gets cancer, your immune system hasn't overcome it because your immune system has been fooled into thinking that the cancer is part of yourself. It's a whole biological mechanism. I can't get into it right now. I'm not sure I understand it all, but I do know that the distinction between self and non-self is the key, and that's how cancer grows, because it fools your body into thinking that it is part of yourself, and your body says, yeah, that's me, and I let it grow. And then, of course, God forbid, the cancer can grow and actually kill you. So that is the essence. That's the same model that I would apply to suicidal ideation. Suicidal ideation is when, as I said, you get these ideas which you think are your own, but they're not. They're not you. That's the difference. You have to learn to distinguish between all of these crazy thoughts that say, I can't go on. I can't take this anymore. The world is too cruel. Life is too cruel. I have no hope. You have to learn how to recognize those thoughts as not you. Because you have a healthy organism. You want to live, basically. If you didn't want to live, why would you be complaining? Why would you be accepting complaints about your situation in life? You want to live a good life, but you do want to live. You have a drive to survive like everyone else. But the minute you start believing these thoughts that come into your mind as being part of yourself, that's where the suicidal ideation, the thinking about suicide, becomes dangerous. You identify with your enemy, because those thoughts that invade your mind and tell you, I can't go on, I can't take this anymore, I'm not up to the task, I can't survive, I have to get off this crazy, stupid life that I'm having, those thoughts are not really your thoughts. They are the thoughts of your enemy, of your invading, malicious or mechanism which is poisoning your mind. Now, you can use a different model that suits you. You could say it's a malignant part of your subconscious mind. Or if you're more of a, shall we say, a metaphysical person, you can say, oh, it's an actual evil spirit which is planting these thoughts in my mind, or a demon that is planting it depends on your particular view of life. Whatever it is, whether it comes from your subconscious and it's just a figment of your own subconscious thought processes, whether it is an actual evil spirit which is possessing part of your mind, whether it is whatever it is, you have to understand that this is not self. This is not you. And if you do, God forbid, kill yourself, what you're doing is you are letting the cancer win. You are identifying with the cancer and saying, yeah, that's me, that's part of me, that cancer. Let it go, let it rule me, and let me believe in it, and let me follow it, and let me take my own life, God forbid. That is when the enemy within you takes over, because you have let it, because you have not fought against it, because you have been fooled into believing that these thoughts are actually your thoughts. Suicide is basically the ultimate perverse manifestation of Stockholm Syndrome. What is Stockholm Syndrome? Stockholm Syndrome is when a person is taken captive, kidnapped, whatever. Say somebody kidnaps you, and then the days go by, the months go by, the years go by, and he keeps you locked up in a room. And all you know is this person giving you food and letting you sleep under their authority, giving you permission to sleep, giving you permission to wake up, giving you permission to eat. What happens in Stockholm Syndrome, and this is this is not theoretical, this is actually quite documented, that the prisoners, the people who are held captive, begin to love, worship, and revere their captors. They begin to identify with their captors because they have fallen prey to accepting the reality that their captors have subjected them to. Whereas they should be, of course, psychologically, we would think they would be angry at the people who have taken them captive. They would be angry at these people who are holding them back from escaping. They would be angry, but they're not. They accept and begin to love and revere and worship even their captors. That's Stockholm Syndrome. Now, the extreme of that would be, I so believe in my captor, that they are the truth, they are the light, they are the way, that if my captor tells me, okay, kill yourself, I would gladly do it, because my captor tells me I must do that. And that would be a model of understanding about suicide, letting in or believing that the suicidal thoughts that you have, that I can't take it anymore, that's not you. You think it's you, but it's your enemy in your head, whatever you want to call it, an evil spirit. You can call it a figment of your subconscious mind, a construction of your own self-hate, so to speak. But what is self-hate? Self-hate is not you. We are born loving ourselves. We are born without any reason to hate ourselves. But then sometimes life experiences depress us, discourage us, and sometimes we let them take over, just like our bodies let a cancer grow inside of us, because we begin to identify with the negative thoughts, with the hatred to ourselves, the hatred to our situation, the feeling of hopelessness in our situations, that we feel we can no longer overcome. That feeling that I can't overcome this is not you. And if you have this understanding, to understand that thought itself, which now, if someone is having suicidal ideations and they even attempt or actually go through with it, God forbid, what they've done is they've identified with something that's not their selves. They've identified with the self-hate that has grown up like a tumor inside of them, and they have accepted that erroneously as being part of their own selves. It's not. And so, using that model of cancer and understanding that it fools your body into thinking that the malignant thing growing inside of you is yourself, and the body lets it grow and fester. That's the same thing with suicidal thinking. That thinking is not you. But we, unfortunately, many of us don't have the insight or the strength to fight against that. I'm urging everyone who feels that they can't go on, that life is impossible, that there's no hope, I encourage everyone who reaches that point to suddenly stop and think about what I've said. That those very thoughts that you think are your own are not. They're a product of a sickness with which you have identified. They're not you. And if you do, God forbid, kill yourself, all you're doing is giving your enemies the ultimate victory. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to give our enemies the ultimate victory. Therefore, what we do is we say, no, those thoughts, they're not me. They're my evil spirit inside my mind trying to convince me to bring harm to myself, to do harm to myself, and I reject it. And that's the key. You can reject the suicidal impulses, the self-destructive impulses better if you understand that they're not really your thoughts. Free yourself from those thoughts. Make a separation between them and you, and to know that you love yourself. You really do love yourself. It's natural for everyone to love themselves. To think otherwise, to want to bring harm to yourself, is to let that malicious disease win over yourself, and to have erroneously identified with those self-destructive thoughts as being you. They are non-self. You are self. Please protect yourself from your non-self enemy. And I hope this helps. If this helps anybody, I'd be very happy. I just really believe that that's the underlying mechanism of suicide in a case where people are otherwise healthy, and that if they work hard at understanding the difference between self and non-self, I believe you can stop and laugh at any impulse to kill yourself. You'd say, I should give that bastard, that enemy bastard, malicious thinking, ultimate victory over me? No, I love myself. I want to live. I hope this helps.